Here is one version of our workforce planning tool that we built for strength planners in the Navy Reserve. They're interested in forecasting their personnel needs up to 6 years out, and this tool called Impact Res helps them do that. They can explore all sorts of scenarios with different policy ideas and see how those policy changes might play out. So you can see at the top you have a view of the sort of thought process of a strength planner going through creating different scenarios. So at the far right here, we have the current scenario that was built by copying and changing this scenario, which was built by copying and changing this scenario, so they can sort of see the thread of their thought process. So for each of these scenarios, they get to specify all sorts of parameters that drive the model. These parameters, click over here, they can be in general or for officers specifically or for enlisted. Many of them are policy related, such as the authorizations for different ranks and communities. They can be related to, for example, advancement and promotion. Or it can be assumptions. So, for example, it assumes that a certain number of officers will leave the Navy Reserve at any given time. But you can change some of those assumptions depending on things that you know are going to happen or might happen in the future. You can define those very broadly, say, oh, I'm expecting 10% of officers to leave. Or you can be much more specific. You can say, I know within this small subpopulation, they're going to have this many losses, or maybe they will, and we can see what happens. So once the user has put in all sorts of parameters that they're interested in, they can go and run a simulation which builds an agent based on every officer and sailor in the reserve and runs them through all the processes that they encounter during their career, accession, promotion, attrition, and generates a forecast. So I've already generated one here. We can actually view the results. And here we've generated a chart for all the metrics that strength planners care about when they're trying to evaluate what their strategy should be. So simple things like how many officers do we have in the reserve over time. That can be broken down by pay grade. We can compare that to how many we want to have in each different bucket. That's what the black line is here. We can focus in on losses either by reason, why did they leave, or where did they leave to. We can look at gains. So basically they can drill into all the things that they need to know in order to make the best decisions and their best recommendations to their admiral. So this is what we've been working on for the Navy Reserve. On the active side, we've been taking a slightly different focus. So here is a rough draft of a dashboard where community managers in the Navy can at a glance see the health of their community. And by that I mean whether they have the right number of people in the right kind of roles at the right time. So at a glance, they can use color and numbers to figure out where are the problem spots, where are the opportunity spots. Another thing we've been working on, a lot of our customers are very interested in learning more about the details within a model. Exactly how does it work? By better understanding all the internals of the model, they can use it and trust it even more. So to do that, we've been working on a tool that takes our model that is implemented in Java, translates that code into flowcharts that our users can use to better understand what's going on under the hood. So for example, I talked about the different processes that these sailor agents go through, for example, officer promotion. Well, this is all of the logic that goes into deciding how many people to promote. So it starts out pretty simple, but as you want detail, you can click and drill in and find out more information. You can go all the way down to the point where your questions are answered or you get bored or confused. So for example, here we figure out how many people to promote simply by figuring out how many people we want in total and come in and figure out how many people we need. So we figure out how many people we're probably going to have in the future, and figure out the difference between that and the number that we're allowed to have in that group, and that's how many we promote. But the devil is always in the details. Here we can actually click in and see what goes into this forecast. These are the things that many of our users really care about. They want to know this detail, and this lets them have direct access to it. And because this is generated straight from our code, they know that what they see is actually what they're going to get.